Good morning and welcome to My Left Ear. I'm in Los Angeles, so it's still morning, and I hope you have a nice weekend. I'm Carrie Freeman. My Left Ear is a left-leaning YouTube channel where I do political and psychic commentary, and my left ear signifies that this is how I get information through this side. Don't ask me how. It just is that way. And I also do the runes with specific questions, and we've got some runes today. This is video 145, and it's April 1st, April Fool's Day. Now, I'm not going to play any games with you guys, but at the end, I have a good evidence story about an April Fool's trick that was played on me that still is like one of my all-time favorite memories ever. So stick around for that story in good evidence. And the reason it's good evidence is that it made me laugh and laugh and laugh, and it left me with a wonderful memory. So there you go. That's a tease. I have a Patreon channel, and I talk about all kinds of things that are creative and interesting, I hope, on the Patreon channel. And it is patreon.com/Carrie Freeman. And what I do here is I pull in all the news and I disseminate information that I think, nothing really that you haven't heard, except my runes you haven't heard and my left ear's take on things you haven't heard. But I disseminate, and then I add the psychic commentary and the news. Never able to cover everything, so I pick out what I think might be the most interesting. I hope what's interesting to me is interesting to you. That's a good way to say it. So I would love it if you would subscribe and like. As you know, you hear that from everybody, and it makes a difference. I also do private coaching, psychic coaching, and clinical hypnotherapy, and all of that is all that information is below, including my email, and you can call me and ask me for a cheat sheet of services. Okay, here we go. Last week, my left ear said, expect another news extravaganza, just last week. And I also said that the indictments would, the indictment or indictments, it's like 34, I think, would come down this past week. Then this announcement came out that the Manhattan grand jury was going to take a break and wouldn't be back until the end of April. And people were like, what's going on? I thought something was up. And what I wrote on Twitter was, I'm not worried about this delay at all. I think the right things are happening. And then there wasn't a delay. So not as they announced, because the ex-president, Donald Trump, was indicted on March 30th, 2023. And that is a game changer, people. So let me just say a couple of things. I have mixed feelings about this. Not that I think it's wrong. The mixed feelings about his indictment and coming indictments, I just have to say this. I find this such a tragedy. Even though the majority of people are responsible for their own tragedies. But nevertheless, to me, because I have a background in theater and playwriting, this just feels Shakespearean to me. Do you know how one man has made some real damage in our country? He's brought down his family because they don't know any better. So I just wanted to say that. But then there is relief, all right? This is part of the mixed feelings, this relief and this feeling of finally, you know? So I don't feel joyous, but I feel like we, and I'll get into this in a few minutes, that we entered a new portal. So even though I said no joy, I did tweet Hillary Clinton and said, at, Hillary Clinton, dear at Hillary Clinton, I hope you have a lovely evening. That's all I said. And I bet she did. I bet she had a nice evening, because she has been classy and patient and on and on. What happened to her was horrible. All right, let's go on to Alvin Bragg, the district attorney in Manhattan. I got a really big kick out of stuff. So when this was announced, like, we're not going to reconvene until April, and everybody's like, what? And I just said, Carrie, my left ear, wait this out. I'm not buying this completely. I just wasn't buying that story. So then the indictment came out, and everybody in Trump's team and Trump were like shocked. Alvin Bragg punked Trump and his team with the announcement to indict. He punked them. So he beat him. He got the best of him. And it says a lot about Alvin Bragg, that he's smarter, and he very cleverly took away Trump's manipulation in this situation, and they were all taken off guard, scrambling. No, we can't come in on Monday. We need more time. The photo that most everybody has seen of, it's a split photo. The photo on the left, my left, is Trump wielding a big baseball bat like he's going to hit somebody, and then the next picture next to him is Alvin Bragg. So it's pointed towards Alvin Bragg. That is illegal. Threatening a district attorney is illegal, and that may have intensified updating the indictment. It may have. I didn't ask the RUNES about it. Now, this baseball bat thing could add another charge to his, people are saying there's 30 indictments, there's 33, there's 34. So it's really close there, those numbers. So I don't feel equipped to tell you there's exactly this many indictments. But this threat, and then I find out, maybe you did too, that Trump has been going after Alvin Bragg's wife. She had to shut down her Twitter account. And this is hilarious. Trump told Sean Hannity, I didn't post that photo. I don't know where that photo came from, but it was removed in 24 hours because my left ear said that his legal team told him, listen, bud, you could get another indictment just for that one tweet. So it was removed. But Trump says, I didn't post that. Right. And you are so credible, aren't you? Now, I did hear from a subscriber who said, could you talk a little bit more about this tectonic shift? And I wrote about this in the community section. When I was in college, I actually liked geography and geology. I was just mediocre at it, but I thought it was sort of interesting. So I'm not a geologist, but somehow this came through my left ear. This is as of the 30th. This is a tectonic shift. So it's because we've entered a new portal with the first indictment of a former president ever in history. And I'm going to just read you how this relates to my calling this a tectonic shift. So I looked this up for me. Relating to the structure of the surface of the earth and the way it is formed, changed, and moved by forces inside it. That's the thing that jumped out at me. Moved by forces inside it, and that would be Trump. So they're talking about the motion of the Earth's tectonic plates. And number 2, relating to the structure of the surface of the earth and the way it is formed, changed, again, and moved by forces inside it, not outside forces. And then the last one was kind of general. It said a tectonic change is very important and will have major effects. That's just science. So this is enormous. And Trump's indictment, this one, there's going to be more, is a tectonic shift, a global change in focus now. There is no more if. If is taken off out of the conversations now. And according to my left ear, and just plain old me, because we often agree, my left ear and me, sometimes we don't. Sometimes I get information, I go, are you kidding? What, really? So now we wait for the cascade of more indictments. It's like the dominoes. I always said that the first person who issues indictments, it's just going to be like dominoes. It's just going to open that door. Now, I just want to tell you something. We won't know what's in, the indictments are closed, and we won't know until Tuesday when they become available. But I want to tell you, there are felony charges. I know there are felony charges. We know because Bragg would never go to this trouble, danger, and risk with this first indictment with only misdemeanor charges. Just wouldn't happen. I kind of, it's like reason, even. I don't know if that's that psychic, it's just reason. But I still hear pundits talking about misdemeanors, and it's like, no. This guy is too smart. He has a whole history. In fact, Lawrence O'Donnell did a great little kind of verbal resume of Alvin Bragg, and it was actually great. He grew up in Harlem. His parents were successful working people who did not want to take him out of Harlem because they thought that this was a great environment and like hood to grow up in, and that's not meant racially. I live in a hood. And so this is how he grew up. And then he was just this good kid with good parents, and he went to school and got great grades and all these achievements. I doubted him at first, and I think a lot of people did. And I'm always happy to say I was wrong. So here's the first rune. And this question is based on something that Tom Joseph, who has a podcast, political podcast, and we've been following each other for years on Twitter. Someday I'll go to Chicago and I'll meet him. We'll have a cup of coffee. But he predicted that watch sort of Trump. So anyway, his questions gave me this idea. So the question is for this rune, will Trump eventually collapse due to multiple indictments? Because he has more and more coming down the pike. It's like, it's a tsunami that's coming. So, boy, did I get interesting runes today. I got the rune of the self reversed. And it says, you may feel blocked. And what my left ear wrote in a quote, what do you call those? I wrote an artery, ? It says, do not turn to others, but look inside, which he's incapable of doing. But it's very interesting what the rune said. You will recognize the outer enemy, us, that he projects onto, that we're evil, we're this, we're that, is but a reflection of what you have not, until now, been willing or able to recognize, that the enemy is coming from within. Now, I asked about a collapse. So when it says the enemy is coming from within, I wrote his body, ? The second rune I got for this collapse question is strength. Now, you would think that would be only positive, but let me share what it says. The rune of terminations and new beginnings. So if he did collapse with a physical problem, that would be another game changer, and it would start new beginnings, or if the worst happened, okay? And it says, the life you have been living has outgrown its form, Donald. It doesn't say Donald, that's me. That form must die so that new energy can be released. This rune is a passage and may involve a descent into darkness. Wow, wow, wow. Then the last rune I got for this question about, is he going to collapse under the weight of all of this? Because, you know, he seems like almost invincible. I got the rune of opening in the reversed position. And it says, expect a darkening of the light in some situations. A partnership may be dying. And that may indicate people leaving him. But it says this points to a death of a way of being that is no longer valid. So what do I think? I think there's a really good chance he'll have a physical incident and collapse. That's what I think. Don't know when. All right. Then I did another rune. Will there be a big showing of Republicans next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday in New York, like protesters? With Marjorie Taylor Greene is going. She's made a big announcement. So the first one I picked was disruption. It's similar to the tarot, but it can be a little bit different. But it says change, freedom, liberation. Operates through reversal and is the great awakener. So what would be shocking to Trump, Marjorie, and the Trump team is the lack of attendance next Tuesday, or very minimal attendance. All right, then I picked protection reversed. No protection. Look carefully, Donald, at the associations you form. Remain conscious of people who may be using you. And I have something to say about that in a little bit, about the coup-plotters. Then I got Berkana, which is growth, but I got it in the reversed position. It is an interference of growth of new life. It is slow. Relationships may need to undergo changes. Examine your role in what has happened. He won't. He's not built like that. Identify your obstacles to growth. Well, he's the obstacle to growth. He's the problem. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say there will be some people, but I don't think it's going to be this huge giant thing, because I also think there will be people there supporting Alvin Bragg and this first indictment. However, New York is prepared. So all we do is watch. But I think he's going to be disappointed and he's going to feel the weakening. And I'm going to talk about the coup-plotters in the Senate and the House in just a minute and what's going on with them. So yeah, my left ear said this is doubtful. There's going to be a crowd, but Marjorie Taylor Greene is working at getting a crowd to show up. And by the way, you may not be aware of this, but 60 Minutes, that's on Sunday night, is experiencing a backlash because they are advertising and featuring that Leslie Stahl is going to interview Marjorie Taylor Greene tomorrow night on 60 Minutes so that Margie can spew her vile self and her lies. So there's a movement going on Twitter to boycott 60 Minutes. They shouldn't have good ratings. And I don't need to watch. You don't need to watch. You know the stuff that comes out of her mouth. And then all the pundits are going to discuss it. So there's no reason to watch her. Don't watch her. 60 Minutes did this to get ratings, to make money. And it's really distasteful. and without ethics, because they're promoting propaganda. 60 Minutes is they're promoting propaganda. Unbelievable. They used to have a good reputation. So this morning, as I'm listening to the news, getting ready, one of the morning shows, I'm just losing who it is in this moment, Jonathan Capehart, thank you, I love him. He interviewed a woman who is an online terrorist specialist. And she said there are a lot of angry Trump devotees, but no indications that people are planning any kind of a riot. And this is what she does. She somehow can stomach it, but she goes in and studies these people in these groups. So that's, you know. All right, so now my left ear, the coup-plotters and the insurrectionists in government, meaning the House and Senate, they're really only interested in saving themselves from legal problems and indictments. That's why they're all supporting Trump. And they don't like him, but they don't want to be investigated by Jack Smith because they're guilty. Not every Republican in the Senate, but those that have been the coup-plotters and the insurrectionists, and they have secrets. They don't want to go to jail. They don't want to lose their cushiness, and they're very scared now. So just keep that in mind. When they're bloviating, it's about underneath what it is about. I don't want to lose my money. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want Jack Smith to issue me a subpoena, except Lindsey Graham went on with Sean Hannity, I think, the other night, and he made this insane plea on Fox, and he was like almost crying, and he might have had a few drinks before he went on. I'm not sure. His eyes were like droopy, red. It's hard to know, but he was acting like he was going to cry. So Lindsey is just crazy. He's like crazy as a hoot owl. It's so weird to see these people flip-flop, and that would be McCarthy. And by the way, Jim Jordan, who is so substandard with his head of this committee or that committee, he's been harassing Alvin Bragg's office. We want to see all the documents. Well, they have no rights. They have no right legally. So someone brilliant, a woman who works with Bragg, an attorney, sent Congress and Jim Jordan a 5-page letter and said basically, hey, you're completely out of bounds legally. You're not getting anything from us. It was very, so I think this is my last. No, I did 2 more runes. Okay. Will Jack Smith come for the House and Senate insurrectionists? And I got flow. Yes. Unseen powers are active. It speaks to emotional satisfaction, signals a time of cleansing. That is very specific to me and my left ear. Flow. Flow is for us, not for them. Then I got gateway. There is much work to be done. And I'm going to say it's Herculean. It's huge. The gateway is not to be approached without caution. And that, I believe, speaks to Jack Smith's work ethic and attention to detail and his fearlessness. There are deep transformational and unseen forces at work, and that has to do with his planning and private investigation that we know nothing about yet. And then, best of all, I got the creepiest rune in the bag, the rune of stand still. And stand still just looks like a pole. It's just like that. There's no reverse. If the reverse is the same, stand still. And it says withdrawal, and that would be the GOP. The winter of your spiritual lives is upon you. That's directly to the coup-plotters. The winter of your spiritual life is upon you. Jack is coming. Positive accomplishment is not likely now for the insurrectionists, not for Jack Smith. So he's frying bigger fish, but this just tells me he's too experienced and sharp and comprehensive, and he hates, how do I put this? Well, he hates the lying and the illegality. He has a thing about it, and he would go after Democrats as easily as he would Republicans. So it's not that kind of partisan thing with him. He just has an issue with ethics, thank goodness. And it says positive accomplishment is not likely now, and that speaks directly to the Republican coup-plotters. All right, one more. My screen blew up, so hold on a second. Oh, that's the wrong one. Come on, Zoom. All right, it's coming back. The final rune. Someone asked me, and it's been on my mind, will Trump flee the country? And I picked one rune, and then I didn't need to pick any more. I got the rune of opening in the reversed position. And I have one thing to say to you. That window has closed. That window has closed. There's too many eyes on Trump. He's got Secret Service everywhere. They would be culpable if he got on that jet. And he thought about it. There's too many eyes on him now. All right. So to the person who asked me that question, that's what we've come up with. So that's what we're covering today. Now, I'm going to tell you this good evidence story because it's so much fun. It happened a long time ago. There's a place in Big Sur, California that's been there since the hippie days, like the late 60s, called Esalen. And Esalen was built by people, a lot of people that were highly educated in psychology and New Age thought. Timothy Leary was up there. So many psychologists that have written. Abraham Maslow, I think, was up there. But they had, and they still have, a series of weekend seminars and week-long seminars. It's very beautiful. It's on acreage that is on a cliff that overlooks the ocean. It's dreamlike atmosphere. And you cannot get onto the property unless you have a reservation and have paid. They have hot tubs, and they have the best massage therapists I've ever encountered, and they have massage training. So I went up there for, was it a week or was it 3 days? I think it was 3 days. And I took a course called Crazy Wisdom and the Comic Perspective for Life. And two men ran it, a Buddhist, American guy, but a Buddhist, and a comedy writer. It was the best 3 days I've ever spent, ever. Laughed for 3 days. I have more stories, but I'm just going to tell you this one story. So it's my first morning, and they have this wonderful, it's almost like a giant cabin where they have communal eating. So there are these long wooden picnic tables, and then it's a buffet to go get whatever you want for breakfast. I loved the food, by the way, up there. So I sat down at a table, and I put down a drink, orange juice and my silverware, and there were two women at the table that were in my seminar, two women from Germany, because Esalen attracted lots of people from Europe. Germany, Austria, especially. So they were delightful, and they were already eating. So I got my food, I put it down, then I went to get my coffee, and I came back, and everything was gone. My breakfast was gone. My orange juice and my silverware were gone. And it's one of those where you think you're nuts. And I'm like, this is really weird. What happened? And these two women had moved my entire breakfast to another table to play an April Fool joke on me. So when it all came out and they were laughing and I was laughing, it was the best experience. And then we bonded and they invited me to Germany. I never went, but they invited me to Germany. And that was the most memorable April Fool's Day ever. And you can look up Esalen through Google. It's ESALEN.org, O-R-G. I cannot speak for the quality now because it's been many years since I've visited Esalen, but it was quite glorious back in the day. All right, now we're gonna go to quotes. Here's a quote. A book title that would correctly describe the Trump years should be entitled Massive Suffering. And you know who said that? Me. It would describe the years that Trump showed up on the political scene. Massive suffering for lots of people. I wish someone would write it. I don't want to write it. And then here's my quote, which is Winston Churchill. A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. So I just want to say to everybody, let's focus on the opportunities here, because the tectonic shift has happened. And now we just have to be in the present moment. You know, we just have to be in the present moment because this uncharted territory is making everybody uncomfortable, including the pundits and journalists and so on and so forth. So that was a lot of material today. And I will be back with Patreon probably tomorrow, maybe Monday. So I'll make a little announcement. And I want to say, have a good April 1st. Steal someone's dinner and put it on another table. It still makes me laugh. Anyway, make peace, make memories, okay? Okay, guys, more to come.